Hello and welcome back to the Not the Old Firm YouTube channel. My name is Ben Banks and back to kick off a mini-series across our YouTube channel and website ahead of the Scottish League Cup semi-finals. On Saturday, Hibs will play St Johnstone, and on Sunday, Livingston play St Mirren, as those four teams contest this year's Hampden showpieces. Nice for us on Not the Old Firm to have four teams we can actually cover in this semi-final stage. So we hope you do enjoy these interviews we've got coming. We've got an interview with a former player of each club that are in these semi-finals, and they'll be released obviously today, as you're seeing this on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in the lead up to these big games for these clubs. A new face and will lift the trophy. A new team will be on the base of it as well. So plenty of excitement building around these clubs. We'll have build up to that, of course, from managers as well and players up until the big weekend across this week, across our social media and our website. So do check that out as well. For today, we have Livingston's edition on our exclusive interviews with Derek Lilley, well-known face in the Livingston faithful, obviously helped them win the 2004 League Cup against Hibs. Well-loved face around Livingston. I think it'd be fair to say a legend in West Lothian. And he speaks to us about his experience in the semi-final, finding out on the day that Livingston were going into administration, so never really got to enjoy the semi-final, but an interesting experience for him nonetheless before they did eventually go on to lift the tournament, as well as a bit about what he's doing now. Certainly got an interesting field to work in these times we're living in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we hope you do enjoy this video. Do remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, take it easy. Getting you back, what are you sort of up to now that your playing days and stuff are done?
I work in pharmaceuticals, so it's quite an interesting time given what's been going on. So last year it was really busy. This year it's still busy. As we sell pharmaceutical products into hospitals and stuff like that. So due to current COVID-19, it's all hands on deck. But so that's been keeping me busy for about the last 10 years, which has been good.
No, you picked a year for it, but to be involved in pharmaceutical stuff.
I know it was a bit odd when I got into it. I first got into sales, and I always looked at, you try and look at industries where, I'm not saying they're sort of bomb-proof, so to speak, but you're always going to need pharmaceuticals. There's always people getting sick, and it's a terrible. But you can try and look at it from a long-term industry. Where do you want to go? And yeah, pharmaceuticals has been the right one to choose. And the last 12 months has been. It's been good from a pharmaceutical perspective, obviously, but we wish we'd rather not been in that position.
Yeah, good for business, but you'd rather not be doing it.
Yeah. Exactly.
But looking on the football, which has, to be fair, COVID has played its part in that as well. What have you sort of made of the season, looking from afar?
It's been tough, I think you could see, especially early on, there was a lot of kind of strange results. Especially when you looked at down south, there was some really, really odd results. And I think even some of the teams abroad, there was stats coming out saying literally the away team, so to speak, had a huge advantage because home teams didn't have their crowd there. So, and even try to watch it's been difficult as well. Some of the games, I know they try and put sound in it as well, a bit false, and the timing's out, and it's been a tough watch, I must admit, trying to watch some of the games. So I can only imagine as a player, they've obviously got used to it now, but it's a real. The last time I played in games like that, you're either coming back for an injury or you're bombed out the first team and you're playing second string, and even then it's mentally challenging to get yourself motivated. So I think the players have done really well to play given the circumstances, but it's just not the same.
No. So you can probably imagine when Livingston go to Hampden in a few weeks for their cup semi-final, it's probably a tad different to what you were used to.
I know. We made the semi-final at Easter Road ourselves, obviously against Dundee, and it wasn't a huge support, but it was a great atmosphere. And then going to Hampden, wasn't it? What was it, 40,000 or something like that? Hibs had all been. It was a great spectacle. Great to be part of that and that sort of crowd. And funny enough, I was watching a game earlier on. It just so happened that Leeds were playing Derby. It was an old, I think it was 2 years ago, just to try to get into playoffs. And you looked at this, Ellen Road was jumping. You think, when will we actually get back to those days?
Yeah, because even albeit I was at Livingston Aberdeen last night, but things went a bit awry there, with Almondvale doing its best SeaWorld impression.
Yeah.
But it's a totally, like, I'm assuming, like, as a player, a low player are used to it. Like, when you're playing with no fans, it's, even in reserve games, it's bizarre.
It's tough. It's very, very tough. I think you've got to motivate yourself. When you're younger, it's different. Because it's all about the game. You're trying to, prove yourself, so to speak, try to make your way in the football world. But as players get a bit more experience, you're used to that sort of energy. When you walk out onto a football stadium, there's always an energy, and and if players thrive on it, whether you're playing away from home, you're getting stick off the fans, which motivates you. It's always nice to keep them quiet when you score a goal or do something, beat them, and even when you're at home, you've got your home support, they get right behind the team, especially if you're maybe that one, you're 2-0 down and you score a goal and it's 2-1 and the team's, that, and you get real momentum and stuff, that's just lacking. But as I said, I really take my hat off to the teams and the players, because it can't be easy, and there'll be times that teams just struggle.
Yeah. When you sort of were in this type of game, you'd obviously just came off, like, obviously had that spell at Leeds and stuff, and you made your move down south. How big were these games for you at that stage in your career?
From a Leeds perspective?
No, I was mean just in terms of when you came to Livingston, you'd obviously had big moves down south, and then to be involved in these games with a smaller club, was that still as grand?
Oh, massive. I mean, it's, I think you've got to understand the club and where it is. I mean, I played for Morton for many years and been at Dundee United, so I was used to being at sort of so-called smaller teams. And you've got to understand, I mean, obviously I realised that Livingston came from Meadowbank Thistle, what they were all about, and they achieved a lot in a short period of time, but they were making their own history, and we were very fortunate that we created a bit of history, and that was something that always gets said. But I never took it lightly. I love playing at Almonville. For all it wasn't jumping every week. The fans, you've got to appreciate that's the fan base that they had. And the run of success that we got obviously brought in more fans. But that was a club, a so-called sort of provincial club. But to get success was a brilliant achievement, and I treated every game as a cup final. I came to Livingston, I was probably sort of 30, I think I was 30, 31. Sort of, in the sort of twilight of my career, so to speak. So I cherished every moment. I played every game as if it was my last game, and something I always did do anyway. But as you get older, and you get, are you ever going to get to a cup final? Are you ever going to win a medal? These things start to come through your head, and when you sort of get to the semi-final, and these are big moments in my career. I mean, that winning the cup final was, that's the icing on the cake. That is a highlight of my career. So it was very, very special.
When you obviously, it's not like not that it makes the achievement any less, but obviously you're not playing Celtic or Rangers on the way here, even playing teams like Aberdeen and things like that. At this stage, you want to sort of be playing somewhat teams around about you, and I'm sure Livingston and St Mirren will be quite glad they've got each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the year that we got to the final, so Hibs beat, I think, Celtic and Rangers to get to the final, which probably didn't help them psychologically, because you maybe think, a lot of them take their eye off the ball. But from our perspective, we were fortunate, or we want to look at it. It doesn't matter. You've just got to beat the next team there, and be it your own sort of demise that you underestimate any team that's there. You've got to treat it like a cup final every game, and both teams will see it as a huge opportunity, because you won't get that many opportunities to get to a semi-final and not play against an Old Firm side. So, yeah, both of them will see it as a massive chance to get to a national final.
I've asked this of a few players who have been on these sort of occasions, and managers, and to varying responses. Did you find the semi-final more nervous than the final?
It was a strange set of circumstances, to be honest with you, Ben, because we went into administration just at the semi-final, so it was a bit of an odd one for us. I think, don't get me wrong, I think semi-finals are full of nerves because of what's at stake. The last thing you want to be is losing. I mean, losing a final is bad enough. Thankfully, I've never done that, as a senior level. But I mean, losing at a semi when you've got that final hurdle again, especially when you're playing against a team that you've got a chance of beating. There's a lot of pressure, and our semi-final wasn't a great game. But I mean, probably the circumstances for us was it put an extra twist and edge on it that it was hard to sort of quantify that, in terms of what it did do. But the game wasn't a great. I can really remember the game wasn't really a great game at all, and The only thing that I really remember was I thought we had about 15 or 20 minutes left when we got the penalty, but unbeknown to me that there was literally minutes left. So yeah, scoring the penalty. But yeah, it tinged with nerves. We had another thing going on at the background that was out of our control, which probably put a different slant on the semi-final from there. Because we come off the pitch, there wasn't really the massive hype and excitement that you would probably get in winning a semi-final. It was a bit subdued.
Yeah. So was that, how close are we talking? Because in 2004 I was 3 years old, so a bit before me. But how close was the announcement of administration in the semi-final?
I think it was the morning of the semi-final. I'm pretty much sure it was the morning because it was kind of lunchtime or something like that, because we were in a hotel in Edinburgh, I'm sure it was, not far from the Royal Mile. I think we went there for a pre-match. And if I mind rightly, either that was the day before. I mean, it was literally just when it was about to happen, either the day before or the morning of the cup final, the semi-final. Something in my head's telling me it was the day of the semi. So that really did make it, because I know we didn't have a training session between the news and the final. It was literally we got the news and then we had the semi-final. So it was very, very close to it. Too close, to be honest with you. But we were fortunate we had a good group of players, experienced guys, and we had to sort of park that to one side and just deal with the game as best we could.
Yeah, so even though you went on to the final and everybody remembers the final, at the time I can imagine with the media build up and all that, the game almost doesn't become the talking point regardless of who wins. Obviously off the park stuff takes a bit of precedent. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, that news got announced, and I think that, we went into training. There was a few. I mean, it was a bit not a media scrum, but there was a lot of media about. Because the team was actually doing pretty well. I think we're sort of mid-table. Had a chance of getting into the top 6. Doing okay. We're on a decent run. We've done well. Obviously, the National Cup final to look forward to. And there was a lot of media at the ground. I think so much so that I'm sure there's a few occasions that we actually sneaked out the side doors and stuff like that just to get to our cars, just to get out of the way of it. So there was stuff like that, and I suppose the noise quietens down. Because a few people did get made redundant, which was obviously news at the time as well. But once we get past that, and the players that were left was the players that the manager had. We just knuckled down and just got on with it. Difficult times. I mean, I was a bit older, so maybe a bit more experience and seen things in the world that maybe some players hadn't seen. Especially some of the younger players. But yeah, it was. You just had to go on with it. You couldn't really look back. You had to look forward, and that's what we did. The sort of siege mentality stuff, when it gets to that point, it's almost everything's against us. Almost galvanises you a wee bit. It did, yeah. I mean, because it's not as if we were an enormous club and there was like 100 redundancies. There wasn't really many players that lost their jobs, and that's what made it, in some respects, harder, especially for David Hay to give the news to some of the players. And in a squad, we felt that there were some good guys, some good players, but it had happened. And once the administration went into administration, and Davey had to do what he had to do. You can't control these things; it's out with your control. I think you're just fortunate that you're kept on, and I think we had quite a settled team at the time. So I'm not saying we knew. You knew you were safe, but you thought, I was the top goal scorer. So from my own personal perspective, you're probably thinking, well, I should be okay. It's not really going to affect me. But there's a lot of fringe players that maybe through injury or for other reasons, these were the guys that got affected, which was sad. And it was a hard few days when that happened. There was a real emotional roller coaster. I remember Richie Britton, who's a coach at Ross County. Richie was in tears. He felt for him as a young guy trying to make his way in the game, and he'd been at Livingston as a kid, and you see that, and it's tough. Yeah. So, I'm assuming after the cup semi-final, it probably takes you maybe a few weeks before you can even go, hold on a minute here, we've actually got something to look forward to here. It does, and I think it does, and then obviously you start to get that sort of the build up to the cup final, because it's maybe like 2 weeks before it sort of starts, and that really gets you motivated. And yeah, obviously once you're doing what you're doing in the league, you're dealing with your league games, but then you've got one eye in the cup final as well, so you start to look forward, and everybody's excited, and you just want to make sure one, you're playing well and you're in the team, and two, you don't get injured. So that's a key thing.
Yeah, I know I don't mean to make these all feel too old, but can you believe that's creeping up on sort of, I think it's 16 years?
I know, was it 2003 to 2004 we won it that season?
Yep.
I know, it's a long time ago now. I mean, this year will be quite 17 years since we won it. It just flies by, you know. You're never a truer word, you know. Your career flies by, you know. When you're in it, you're in it for a short period of time, but it does. But it seems only a short time ago when you think about these things. But yeah, it was a long time ago. But yeah, I'm just proud I was part of it.
Well, have you watched much of Livingston this season? Obviously, they're doing all right just now.
They've done well. I mean, I've not been watching too much. I generally find it tough to watch the football, if I'm being honest with you, and I do like watching it, but I find it really difficult. And but I've been keeping an eye on their scores, and obviously I know there's been a change of manager. I was a bit sort of at the time when Gary Holt left, I thought it seemed a wee bit odd. You know, you never quite know people's motivations. I mean, I know David Hopkins was there before, and I played with David at Leeds and Morton. I've known David for years, and even when he stepped away, but people have got their own reasons for doing things. And, you know, you look at what David Martindale's done, you know, what they is it one of the last 8 games I've won?
I think so,
You know what I mean? It's phenomenal, you know, and it's great. They've obviously got a great team spirit. You know, the manager's doing a brilliant job. Obviously, from a coaching perspective, it's a really happy camp, you know, and if you've got that combination in football, you feel as if you can beat anybody, you know, and Livingston will be in that mind space just now. I mean, like I said, they'll be gutted the game was off because you just want to play games, you know, when you're doing well. So, yeah, it's good to see they are doing well because it's been a tough few years for Livingston as well, you know, getting back into the Premier League. So they're doing really well.
You're obviously recording this before they play Celtic back-to-back. I don't think it will majorly because obviously, even though Celtic are depleted for reasons, Livingston obviously still won't be expected to win really either of the two of these games when you look at Celtic's squad. So you would like to think even if they don't pick up positive results, which they probably could in these two games, it won't affect their confidence too much.
No, it definitely won't. I mean, you've got to treat the semi-final in isolation. You know, fortunately or unfortunately, you end up with two games against, you know, both of them against Celtic. But I can be pretty much guaranteed that, you know, they'll be expecting to get something out of that game. They'll be in such a high with the results that they've had that the current group of Livingston players will be going into the game full of confidence. And, you know, they themselves will be expecting to take something out of the game. You know, the outside world might look on it differently, but, you know, you don't win 8 games in a row if you're not playing that well. So they'll be confident that they can take something off them.
Just finally then, how do you sort of see the semi-final going? St Mirren in decent form. I think they've only lost 2 in 16 or something like that. So it's neither side really you would bet against winning.
Yeah, I mean, Livingston, again, St Mirren, sorry, they've been a good run of form as well. The biggest thing I would maybe say about Livingston having the edge is scoring goals. One of the hardest things to do, but Livingston are putting the ball in the back of the net consistently. And I'm not saying St Mirren haven't done that, but I don't think they've done it to the same extent and maybe struggled a wee bit in that front. You know, so I feel Livingston have got definitely an edge on their game. You know, I think they can. More people are contributing from a goals perspective, so they're getting goals from different players. You know, and that's what you need rather than maybe relying on 1 or 2 players. So I feel Livingston have definitely got the edge in that front.
Well, I don't think with your ties you can say a St Mirren victory anyway, can you?
Definitely not. I'm hoping it's a 4-0 Livi. Yeah, and all the Morton fans as well, they'll be right behind Livingston.
Brilliant stuff.